This story begins about 3 years ago. I had a best friend named Sarah. We'd known each other since middle school, went through high school together, and even ended up at the same college. She was one of those people who just lit up every room she walked into. You know the type, always smiling, always making jokes, always there when you needed someone to talk to. We were inseparable. We had this running joke that we were basically the same person in different bodies because we'd finish each other's sentences, like the same obscure music, and even had the same weird food combinations that everyone else thought was gross. Sarah and I texted constantly. I'm talking like hundreds of messages a day. Memes, random thoughts, complaints about professors, plans for the weekend, literally everything. Our text thread was probably longer than most novels at this point. We had this tradition where every morning, no matter what, we'd send each other a good morning text with some kind of emoji or GIF. It was our thing. Sounds silly. I know, but it was important to us. It was our way of saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hope you have a great day. Then everything changed on a random Tuesday in October. Sarah had been complaining about headaches for a few weeks. We didn't think much of it at first. She figured it was stress from midterms, not getting enough sleep, maybe staring at her laptop screen too much. But the headaches got worse. She finally went to the doctor, and they ran some tests. What they found was devastating. Sarah had a brain tumor. Aggressive, inoperable, and already in an advanced stage. The doctors gave her maybe 6 months if she was lucky. I remember the day she told me. We were sitting in our favorite coffee shop, the one we'd been going to since freshman year. She tried to smile while telling me, tried to be strong, but I could see the fear in her eyes. We both cried that day. We cried a lot, actually. But Sarah, being Sarah, she decided she wasn't going to spend her remaining time being sad. She made a bucket list, started checking things off, spent time with family, traveled to places she'd always wanted to see. I went with her on as many adventures as I could. We made more memories in those few months than most people make in years. But the tumor was aggressive. Sarah deteriorated faster than anyone expected. 3 months after her diagnosis, she was hospitalized. 2 weeks after that, she slipped into a coma. I visited her every single day. I'd sit by her bed, hold her hand, tell her about my day, play her favorite music, anything to let her know I was there. The doctor said she probably couldn't hear me, but I didn't care. I needed her to know she wasn't alone. Sarah passed away on a cold morning in January. I got the call from her mom at 6:30 in the morning. I knew what it meant before I even answered. I'd been preparing myself for this moment for months, but nothing really prepares you for losing your best friend. The funeral was scheduled for the following Saturday. It was beautiful, if a funeral can be beautiful. Hundreds of people showed up. Sarah had touched so many lives. People shared stories. We laughed through tears, remembering the funny moments, and we said our final goodbyes. I was one of the pallbearers. Carrying her casket was one of the hardest things I've ever done. We'd buried her in a cemetery on the edge of town, under a big oak tree. It was peaceful there. Sarah would have liked it. After the burial, there was a reception at her parents' house. I stayed as long as I could, but eventually I needed to be alone. I drove home, exhausted emotionally and physically. I hadn't slept properly in days. I got home around 8 in the evening. I kicked off my shoes, collapsed onto my couch, and just sat there in the dark for a while. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old photos of Sarah and me. All our adventures, all our silly selfies, all the moments I'd never get back. I was crying again when my phone suddenly vibrated in my hand. A text message notification lit up my screen. My heart stopped. The message was from Sarah. From her number. From her actual phone number that I'd been texting for years. My hands started shaking. I couldn't breathe. This had to be a mistake, right? Maybe her family was going through her phone. Maybe someone accidentally sent something. But when I opened the message, my blood ran cold. The text said, "Hey, I know this is going to freak you out, but I needed to say goodbye properly. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being there until the very end. You made my life so much better. Don't be sad. I'm okay now. No more pain. Keep living your life. Make it amazing. I'll always be watching over you. Love you forever." I stared at that message for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. My mind was racing. This couldn't be real. This was impossible. Sarah was gone. I'd just watched them lower her casket into the ground. I'd literally been at her funeral hours ago. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe someone hacked her account. Maybe it was some cruel prank. Maybe I was hallucinating from exhaustion and grief. But the message was too personal. It was written exactly how Sarah would write. The tone, the words, the way she always said "love you forever" instead of just "love you." With trembling fingers, I typed back, "Who is this? How did you get this number? This isn't funny." But the message wouldn't send. It just sat there with a red exclamation mark. Network error. I tried again. Same thing. I tried calling the number. It rang once, then went to an automated message saying the number was no longer in service. But I just received a text from it seconds ago. I called Sarah's mom. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. When she answered, I could hear the exhaustion and grief in her voice. I asked her if she'd sent me a message from Sarah's phone. She said no. Sarah's phone had been turned off since she went into the coma, and it was in a box with her other belongings. She asked if I was okay, if I needed anything. I told her I was fine, just confused and tired. I didn't want to upset her more by explaining what had just happened. After hanging up, I screenshot the message. I needed proof that this was real, that I wasn't losing my mind. The screenshot saved perfectly. The message was right there, clear as day, with Sarah's name and number at the top. I showed it to a few close friends the next day. They were all shocked, confused, couldn't explain it. Some thought it was a glitch. Others thought maybe Sarah had scheduled the message to send after her death somehow. But Sarah had been in a coma for 2 weeks before she died. She couldn't have set up anything. Over the next few days, I became obsessed with figuring out what had happened. I researched everything I could find about phones, messages, technology, glitches, anything that might explain this. I contacted the phone company. They confirmed that no messages had been sent from that number on the day of the funeral according to their records. But I had the message. It was right there on my phone. I even took my phone to a tech expert who examined it thoroughly. He confirmed the message was genuine, not photoshopped or edited, and showed no signs of being fake or manufactured. Then I started looking into more paranormal explanations. I'd never really believed in ghosts or the afterlife or any of that stuff before. I was pretty skeptical about anything supernatural. But this experience shook that skepticism to its core. I read countless stories of people receiving calls or messages from deceased loved ones. It's actually more common than you'd think. There are hundreds of documented cases. Scientists call them anomalous electronic phenomena. Some researchers believe that consciousness or energy can somehow interact with electronic devices, especially in the period shortly after death. Some theories suggest that strong emotional connections can transcend physical death, that the bond between two people can be so powerful that it creates some kind of energetic link. Others believe that spirits or consciousness can manipulate electromagnetic fields, which is essentially what our phones and electronic devices operate on. There are even quantum physics theories about consciousness existing beyond physical death, about information being transferred across dimensions or states of existence we don't fully understand. I don't know which explanation is correct. Honestly, I don't know if any of them are correct. What I do know is that I received that message. It was real. It happened. And it brought me an unexpected sense of peace. Whether it was actually Sarah somehow reaching out from beyond, or some unexplainable technological anomaly, or something else entirely, that message told me exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. It gave me closure in a way that the funeral couldn't. I still have that screenshot saved on my phone. I look at it sometimes when I'm missing Sarah, which is still pretty often. It reminds me that maybe death isn't the end. Maybe the people we love don't really leave us completely. Maybe there's more to this universe than we can see or measure or understand with our current science and technology. It's comforting to think that Sarah might still be out there somewhere, in some form, watching over me, like she said. This experience changed me fundamentally. I'm not as skeptical as I used to be. I'm more open to possibilities, more willing to accept that there are things we simply can't explain. I think about death differently now. It's still sad, still painful to lose someone, but I don't see it as the absolute end anymore. I feel like there might be something more, something beyond what we can perceive. Sarah's message also reminded me to actually live my life. She told me to make it amazing, and I'm trying to do that. I take more chances now. I tell people I love them more often. I don't put off things I want to do. Life is short and unpredictable, and we never know how much time we have. Sarah taught me that in life, and apparently, she's still teaching me lessons from beyond it. So,